But I think by putting distance between Scottish Labour and Keir Starmer, whether Starmer stays or goes, Anas and his team see that as a strategic gain for Labour in the Scottish election.
It's a last roll of the dice, isn't it? I mean, as I was saying, if he'd gone for alignment and hugged Starmer close, Labour might have come third. They still might come third, but I'm not saying that this is going to work, but distance between Anas Sarwar and the Prime Minister can only be a good thing for Scottish Labour's election chances.
I think that was their calculation, yeah. And I think it probably was personally difficult for Anas, though. I think he probably is quite fond of Keir Starmer. I think in terms of ideology, there's not a Rizla paper between them, so I think it probably was personally difficult for him. It's been a calculation, and it is a high stakes calculation.
I mean, can you really say for sure that this is win-win? Like, I know that often in politics, I think people tend to look for a solution to one problem and not really think too much about the other problems that will be created. So, yes, Starmer's a disaster on the doorstep. Put a bit of distance between yourself as Scottish leader and him. So maybe that'll get over some problems on doorstep, but it does open up a world of other problems, doesn't it, when it comes to TV debates, TV interviews, the whole idea, the chaos needs to end. Well, that's potentially not the impression that's going to be given once you get into the thick of an election campaign.
I would have hoped they would have gamed that out.
And another, you said that he's got his advisors. I think a very interesting aspect of this is that close circle doesn't seem to have included all of his shadow cabinet colleagues, because as far as I can see, the only one who's backed him up here, even in Scotland, is Jackie Baillie, and then in terms of Scottish MPs and MSPs, a couple of Sunday Mail columnists and Brian Leishman and Monica Lennon, generally seen as being people on the left of the party, not entirely
That's where I think it can be criticised. I think if you're going to do something like that, have backup in place. You want the dominoes to fall. You want more than 2 MPs in the group to back you up. You want full-throated support from the MSPs rather than some of the carefully worded tweets that I've seen. I think Michael Mara said something like, this is something Anas has done. Very pointed comment. Didn't explicitly say that he agrees with him, just that he supports Anas.
I mean, I think even Jackie couldn't actually bring her to say Keir Starmer needs to go. I think she just said
measured support.
Anas has done the right thing.
I'm interested in the role of Douglas Alexander in all of this, and I think that's a fascinating aspect of this, which is going to come into play in the election. The Scottish Secretary, is on the campaign board, isn't he?
He's like a co-chair of the
election campaign.
And
he's also Scottish Secretary and has been full-throated in his support for Keir Starmer. What role did he have in this? Did he and Anas discuss it in advance? Did Anas feel he had the consent or even the nod to go from Douglas Alexander? We don't know.
I think he would have known beforehand. I mean, he's now in the role of marriage counsellor. He's going to have to, be the therapist between Anas Sarwar and Keir Starmer. They're trying to extract gains for Scotland, because I think one of the downsides for the Scottish Labour leader is that he's probably lost a bit of leverage or influence within the government.
He certainly has, but can Dougie Alexander remain as co-chair of Scottish Labour's election campaign?
I think he's nimble enough to do
nimble.
it.
He'd have to be a contortionist to get through that wee pickle.
It seems to me that the strategy from London is we just need to try and move on from this. Okay. Yeah. He's made his views known. He thinks the Prime Minister should resign. Let's just move on and pretend it didn't happen. Seems to be the strategy that I think maybe everybody is going to coalesce around. And as long as Anas is happy to along with that, and Starmer and Douglas Alexander are happy enough to do that perhaps they can continue for a bit internally. I think it's more it's externally how this is perceived that will be the
It
problem.
reminds me, remember when Douglas Ross was Scottish Tory leader and he called for Boris Johnson to
Yes,
quit?
exactly the same.
And he was mocked. Douglas Ross was mocked by people like William Rees-Mogg. This guy's a nobody. He's a pygmy. And it probably didn't benefit him in the short term, but he was right in the long term. Boris Johnson was a complete and utter disaster, and he did quit eventually. I mean, I suppose the nub of this is going into the Holyrood election. Is it better for Anas Sarwar to go for alignment with the Prime Minister or distance?
Yeah.
And I just think distance is better. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean he does a press conference and calls for him to stand down as Labour leader. He could put distance between himself and the PM in other ways. But I feel like there had to be a fundamental break.
Yeah.
Because Starmer, to say he's unpopular on the doorsteps is the understatement of the century.
I mean, you look at the data, you look at the polling, and all points in that direction. But just anecdotally, anyone who has, mates, talks to your relatives, friends, people who would normally be natural Labour supporters are being turned away or turned off by Starmer. And as I say, I think it's just about something about him personally that people don't want to.
Some of the MSPs I've spoken to have said it's absolutely brutal. Like you're being told to F off 7 times a day, and it's all about Starmer. They don't like the Sir thing. They think that he's shafting poor people, that he's too close to rich people, that he's part of a elite now. Some of this may be a little unfair on the guy. I think he's trying to gradually realign the UK behind he's done some good things, but that's the perception.